Hello, 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 Love Wrestling. Good morning. It is Thursday, March 13th, 2025. We are back. We are here. It is myself. It is Drew Nicholas, and we are here for Firmly AEW. So obviously I'm going to swing it over to Drew, ask how he's doing, because he was a little under the weather to start the week, obviously. And I went through something a couple weeks ago where I was on my deathbed for like 5 days. So obviously Drew is here. He's looking good per usual. So I hope that means you're feeling better. I know the other day was quite rough for you. So
hasn't been a great week.
Yeah. So, but hey, we're here. We're ready to rock. We're ready to do this damn thing. Probably just going to throw this out there. So Drew and I hopped on this very Love Wrestling channel Sunday evening, technically early Monday morning, for an AEW Revolution Reacts, where we did a full review, a full reaction show to the pay-per-view right after it happened. So we will probably reference some things that happened at Revolution today, but we're not going to be diving deep into Revolution. If you're looking for more of a Revolution review from me and Drew after our show today, you can go right on this very channel to the past videos, and you can find the reactions from me and Drew from Sunday, and you can kind of hear our in-depth review. Like I said, I'm sure we will reference things that happened at Revolution as we talk through last night's Dynamite, but we're not going to be doing a full-on Revolution review because we did that Sunday evening after the pay-per-view. So with that being said, I know you said you've had a rough week, Drew, but how are you doing today? You're obviously feeling good enough to join us, which is a good thing. So you're doing a little bit better. We're on the mend. We're on the mend.
I would say yes.
Good.
I would say yes.
Good.
Will my body agree with me? I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah. Hey man, we've been there. We've all been there. I had a couple weeks ago, when I came back from the Royal Rumble, I was dead for like a week after that. It was the worst, the absolute worst. All right, Drew, I'm going to be honest with you. We've been coming on here for like, the last month and a half saying, man, AEW is on quite a run here. Great Dynamites, had a great pay-per-view. Obviously, the main event we talked about from the pay-per-view had a great Dynamite. There were things that I liked on last night's Dynamite, but man, I thought that was one of the more let downy post Big Show Dynamites that I've seen in a while. Like, yeah, I left that Dynamite going like, yeah, that was fine.
It was
things I liked on it, but yeah, not a great Dynamite for me.
I will say it was mostly inconsequential.
Yeah.
The part of the title of the show is AEW Revolution Fallout, and
wasn't much.
There wasn't much. No,
wasn't much.
The start of the show was a fallout.
Yep.
Towards the middle of the show was a bit of a fallout.
Yep.
And then that was pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're getting more of it. We're technically getting more of it next week. So
yeah, which obviously we're going to discuss that. I'm cool with that. Because I think the storyline of it makes sense with Adam Copeland So they announced that next week, and we'll talk about it because Jon Moxley did cut a great promo during this show last night. But next week in the main event of Dynamite, I agree, Scott. I thought it was not one of their best in a while. Not one of their best in a while. Which, listen, to me, they've been on a run here the last couple months. You're okay. It's okay to have I just usually post big show are like, those Dynamites are like big time, and this felt the exact opposite of that. However, let's kind of dive into it. As you can see, all right, so what Drew is just referencing is next week, the main event of AEW Dynamite will be a street fight. It'll be a street fight for the AEW World Championship, and it is a rematch. It'll be Adam Copeland taking on Jon Moxley. So we have that to look forward to next week. And like I said, it makes sense with the storyline with Christian getting involved at the end of Revolution, and Christian, the one, didn't give up, but the one that Jon Moxley submitted to retain his championship. So it makes sense storyline-wise for Adam Copeland to be like, hey, I get it, but I didn't really lose, and I had him kind of beat before all that went down. So it makes sense. And then I also think it makes sense because, obviously the reception of that main event did not go as planned. So I kind of feel like it's kind of a redo for them to kind of, yeah, all right. Yeah. Let's get the crowd kind of like enjoying this match between you guys. So I think it's kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah. It's allowing for more interference.
Probably.
And now weapons to be legally involved.
Yes. I like it. All right. So I know what's on our thumbnail. I know what we're going to lean into today. I mean, Scott, I would assume he's probably going to lose the same way next week because that's how Jon Moxley wins all his matches, is the same way. So on Revolution, Wheeler Yuta showed up, but he didn't really have his guys come and help him win. It just happened that the dysfunction of the other guys helped him win.
Right.
But
so
he
it's
won.
Like Jay White and Christian Cage joined the Death Riders.
Yeah, basically.
So there were
the
no Death Riders on Sunday.
Yeah. But
we looked at it completely wrong.
He won his match the same exact way that he wins most of them.
Yeah.
But, all right. So I know we've been kind of going through what do we want to do here? Do we want to lean into the thumbnail picture first, or do we just want to, because something, or do we want to start at the top and just kind of roll through?
Well,
Dynamite?
The thumbnail was significant.
It was. That was one of the parts of the show that I cared about.
Well, I wouldn't say significant. I would say intriguing.
Yes, very. That's literally that.
What comes of it?
That's what I put when MVP started coming out. I went, "Oh, I am intrigued. I am intrigued here."
Personally, I thought Megan Bayne dominating the night.
What did I say to you? Yeah.
Was friggin' incredible.
What did I say to you on Sunday?
Yeah, we talked about that on Sunday.
Yeah,
I remember.
We talked about that on Sunday when we were talking about what's kind of next for Toni Storm, because we knew that was the end of the Mariah May story. And I said that I had hopped on Mark Order with Kate, and Kate had said, what if they did something different and they had someone new like Megan Bayne take the title off of Toni real quick and like make her a star? Now, last night they didn't do that. But however, last night, Toni Storm comes out and she cuts a fantastic promo, as you would expect her to do so. She does it in a way. Yeah, Joey Janela had an awesome tweet. I'll talk about that and put that over too.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that.
So Toni, so Toni Storm comes out. Let me get my notes because we're just going to dive into this then, and then we'll go into the MJF MVP thing. But hold the phone. I got to find my notes. This is the only I like the new gimmick that we have, that we talk about the thumbnail first, or like kind of jump around the show. But the only reason I don't like it is because it F's with me, because now I have to like scroll through my notes and try to find my notes are all in order. So I'm like, damn, where do I have to go? The Toni thing happened like what, in the first hour?
It was like about
early
mid-show.
All right, I got it. All right, I found it. Okay. So Toni comes out, which to me, first of all, first of all, before Tony comes out, they did this beautiful vignette about the whole history of the Tony Mariah feud.
Yeah, to include even from the beginning, I thought was very Hollywood-esque.
Yes, it was. And it was just tremendous. And it just went through everything. It went through the good, the bad, the ugly, the blood. It was just beautifully well done. I think they released it on their socials. If you haven't seen it, it's a good 2 or 3 minute watch. It's a longer vignette, but it was perfect. And then Tony makes her entrance out. And I think a lot of us, I wasn't expecting to see her. I was expecting both of them to maybe have the week off. It was so violent and bloody. But Tony comes out. Oh, Scott, it should have been the main event. I thought it was the best match on the pay-per-view.
You'll hear us talk about that on the reaction.
Yeah, if you go listen to the reaction, you'll get our opinions. And Asian Joe in the chat, what's going on? I agree with you, Joe. So she talks about her injuries.
Well, I think from what happened later with Megan Bayne tells you that they're not immediately doing.
I agree. I agree. Tony Storm says this tramp is still the champ, baby. And she says at Revolution.
Oh, some of these lines.
Oh, incredible. She goes, at Revolution, that was our Hollywood ending, and a chunk of her heart will be gone forever. But the time was well worth it. She goes, now it's time for a new beginning, and the locker room is very talented, but there are just too many champions, she says. She goes, hopefully I wrote down all these. Yeah. There are titles and briefcases and belt collectors, but when you fight her, it's like visiting the zoo. You ready for this? Because she bleeds like a pig, like a giraffe, and she will eat you like a lion. But she promises you'll never hear her meow because she's no pussy, Drew. And it may be messy and it may be sweaty, but it'll always be timeless. You know? She licks like a giraffe. I forgot a word in there. That's right. She bleeds like a pig. She licks like a giraffe, and she will eat you like a lion. But she promises you'll never hear her meow because she's no pussy. And it may be messy and it may be sweaty, but it'll always be timeless.
How is this not the best thing on the show last night? I mean, come on.
So I'm sitting there and I'm going, all right. I go, that's her doing one of the prototypical wrestling promos where the champ is opening up to the whole locker room. She's saying, ladies, I'm the champ. I got no feud right now. If somebody wants to come get it, come get it. Like that. That's one of those promos. But she did it in such a Tony Storm way that she made it absurd and absurdly entertaining in only a way that she can. But that's what that was. That was her saying, hey, locker room, I'm wide open, girls. You want a shot at this? Come fucking get it. Like, I'm wide open. And she did it in only a way that
answered that call.
Yeah. Yes. Because on cue, we see Tony Storm
By
get
the way,
blindsided.
before we get into get into the Megan Bayne part,
yes,
I just want to say that, and this is going to listen. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you may realize something. I am gay. Now
that is true. If you don't watch this show,
if you
watch the show, you would know as
about
well.
Kyle Fletcher and Ricochet.
Yes, you would know as well if you are a regular viewer of the show.
Yes. Now, I am not like a Disney Broadway gay, like a lot of gays are out there, but I do appreciate a good musical.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't?
Yes, exactly. Breaking news, Drew is gay. Thank you. And this is where it comes in, okay?
Yeah.
When Tony Storm is standing there in the spotlight, and it's just that light shining down, and you see the reflection of her in the tunnel lights that are behind her. If you're a fan of this musical, tell me that did not remind you of Chicago.
Never seen it. Didn't that win a bunch of?
Roxy
Didn't they
Hart
make a movie? They made a movie of
with
that. And won a
yeah,
bunch
they
of
did a long
Oscars
time
and
ago.
things, right? Like a bunch of
It
Oscars.
was like mid-2000s.
Was it like Catherine Zeta-Jones was in there? Queen
Renee
Latifah?
Zellweger, Richard Gere, couple of
whole bunch of
very
people.
good actors.
Yeah. Anyway,
and that did not remind you of the Roxy Hart number with the mirrors in the background. And I mean, come on, I almost feel like that was done on purpose.
I mean, it could have
wasn't.
been. You never know. RJ City could be a big musical guy. He seems to be the one in charge of this whole Tony Storm timeless presentation and things. So
it just
give him
immediately reminded me of that.
Yeah.
So that's my gay criticism of the day. Maybe
Wait, is it a criticism?
I don't know. Oh, no, I mean, not a criticism. Critique, not criticism. Wrong word. It was beautiful, and I hope that is how they always do that, because the shining light reflecting on the tunnel lights and everything. The
way it was shot is, she said timeless, right? And then they kind of go to like a further away camera angle, and you see Tony from like a diagonal angle, and she's doing her timeless pose, and it's just pitch black behind her.
It's amazing.
And then you just see Megan Bayne come out of the darkness already, like in punching mode.
It's incredible.
And she just comes out of the darkness and just takes her out. And then Tony's out of frame, and it's just Megan Bayne in the frame now. And she's just looking down at Tony. And Megan Bayne is obviously a very strong, she's a big, strong woman. So it's like you just see her and she looks like I just killed somebody. And it was very well shot. And the Joey Janela tweet that was hilarious is he quote tweeted a tweet showing that visual, and he said, "Finally gonna have AEW gold in my house," with an exclamation point. And I thought that was hilarious. I think I even commented, but I was like, that's a great tweet. That's somebody who gets it. Right there. Corey Michael saying the Hurt Syndicate should come out with super soakers and become the Squirt Syndicate. It's Nerf or nothing. We squirt people. It just doesn't hit the same, Asian Joe says. It doesn't. Well, so it doesn't, Drew. We don't have to get into it. It doesn't. Trying to stay monetized. We ruined the other show on Sunday immediately. So let's not do that here today.
Hey, we're 17 minutes in.
But you can't talk about certain things at all throughout a whole show. And I'm pretty sure if we dive deep into the squirt section of it, I don't think it'll work out for us. So anyway, Jesus Christ. Somebody has to be a professional. So later
I'm professional enough.
To an extent. So later on,
listen, I keep it professional here.
Yeah,
I could say.
I get it. No, we're not even going to talk. No, we're not, because you wouldn't be able to say things, because you would say them for a week or two, and then I would have to find a new co-host. So later on in the evening, and again, we are going to be talking about the thumbnail right after this, but because we discussed Megan Bayne, I at least want to talk about, because we saw Megan Bayne again later on.
We did.
So she does this. She attacks Tony. And it's like, oh boy, all right, here we go. And they've been making Megan Bayne look like an absolute monster. They've been, in my opinion, they've done her very well since she's shown up. Like, they've made her look like a big deal immediately. And then her attacking Tony Storm is just like, okay, we're doing this. Like, she's already up there in that discussion. This is what we're doing. And then later on, Penelope Ford and Willow Nightingale had a good fucking match on this show. One of the bright spots of the show. Like, they had a really good match. And Willow Nightingale gets the victory. And then afterwards, she's getting beaten down because Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford have they've had an alliance here the last couple weeks or so. Megan Bayne gets out there again. She's beating people up. Statlander comes out. Wait, who happened? Did Penelope attack Willow after the match? Or did Statlander just come out? Why did Statlander come out? It's because
she got attacked after,
but not by Megan Bayne, because Megan Bayne didn't come out until after Statlander.
No.
What happened to lead to
Penelope hit her with a chair?
That's right.
Not a very good chair shot, but it was a chair shot nonetheless.
AEW, the chair using. I don't want to call anybody out, but they've had a couple problems with some chair spots these last months, particularly on the female side of things. I don't know what's going on, but that Thunder Rosa thing, whatever the hell that was, like a month ago, and then this shadow, whatever. But yeah, so Penelope attacks Willow with the chair poke of doom. Joe called it the chair poke of doom. Yeah, afterwards, and Chris Statlander comes out to help her. And then Willow kind of doesn't know it's Statlander at first, and they're kind of like, she doesn't attack her, but she's kind of like, well, and they're talking. And while this is happening, Megan Bayne shows up again and takes out Statlander. She gives her an F5.
Both of them. No, she took out both of them.
Yeah. She gives Statlander an F5, and she stands tall over both these women to end this segment. So we see Megan Bayne on 2 separate occasions on this night. One of them, she takes out the champ and stands over the champ. And then the other one, she takes out Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, and she stands over them. So in 2 segments, they made Megan Bayne look like the most dominant woman in the company, which is what you want if she's going to be potentially the next challenger to Toni Storm. So
she looks like a badass. She acts like a badass. She's a really good wrestler. I'm all for this. This is awesome.
I am too.
It's like what I said when Toni won at Grand Slam is like resetting the women's division again, because it was, as much as I loved Mariah May, I have nothing against Mariah May. It's not really about her. It's more about how she was booked after she won it all in last year.
Yes.
It wasn't great. The reign wasn't great. And
everything outside of Toni was just, it felt like it was just there.
Yeah. And now for a big powerhouse in Megan Bayne to trample over the division on this Fallout show from Revolution. And I mean, Statlander and Willow weren't on Revolution. Toni was. No. But just to have her be the focus of the division right now after that match between Toni and Mariah, I think is an excellent thing to do. And is showing much more care in the women's division this year than ever before. I mean, just there's been, obviously, there was a criticism of AEW early days was the women's division, and then around 2023 started getting better. We were getting more than one match a night. We were getting, incredible signings. But the top of the division, I don't remember the last time it was treated the way that it was last night. Where it's like immediately the big title match at the pay-per-view on Sunday and Dynamite following, we've got set up the new powerhouse, really great challenger in a new person that's really been built up the last couple of months, that it makes sense that she's the one to go after the champion after the pay-per-view.
Yeah, so I agree.
I think this is like this is the direction and the vision that the women's division has needed, and I'm very, very excited to see what comes of this.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. Yeah, I mean, listen, we need to get fresh faces near the top of the division, and Megan Bayne is the freshest face they have in the company. So for her to be catapulted kind of up the ranks of the division this quickly to the potential where she's standing there taking out the champ, I'm very intrigued to see where this goes. I'm very intrigued. All right, so let's move on to talk about it. Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He makes his way down to the ring. The crowd is giving him crap, as you would expect. He's coming off a big loss to Hangman at Revolution to open the show. He says he has a splitting headache. He says his hand hurts, his body hurts. He goes, worst of all, everyone knows it. He had the match won, and then the cowardly cowboy cheap shot at him and got a fluke victory just like he did in 2019. What's going on, Sandy? Good morning, my friend.
Hi, Sandy.
He keeps on going, and he goes, I'm not upset. He goes, I've thought long and hard about it. I'm 10 times smarter than Hangman and all of his stupid fans. And he goes, he'll get this. The thing between us is not over by a long shot. And then all of a sudden, we hear the Hurt Syndicate's music. And MVP, who earlier in the evening, there was a backstage segment where MVP was telling Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley to take the night off. And they were all like, no, especially Shelton was like, no, we want to hurt some more people. Like, we want to mess some people up. Like, we want to fight. We want to mess some people up. And MVP was like, no, we're not far from Vegas. We're not blah, blah, blah. Like, go take the night off, have some drinks, go meet some girl. Like, go have a night. Go have a night. And they're like, all right, whatever. So MVP walks out. And when this happened, good morning, Johnny. How we doing, man? Welcome in, brother. When this happens, like I said, the first thing that I did was I said, oh, I am intrigued here. I am intrigued with this because I did not expect this crossing of paths to happen with what they're currently doing. Shock. Yes. So MVP comes out. He gets in the ring. He approaches Max. And at first they're looking at each other with like serious faces. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? And then they both just start smiling and laughing. They give each other a big hug. MJF says MVP. And MVP says MJF. They kind of they do that. And then MVP kind of goes into it. And he goes, oh, I'm out here. I want to talk to you for a little bit. And then he goes, I just wanted to say, and then the crowd's kind of getting on. And he goes, no, I'm proud of him. He goes, I've known him since he was 18 years old. He goes, can I tell you a story about me and MJF? And the crowd is kind of like, we don't, the crowd cares about it, but you could tell the crowd is like, we don't want to hear a fucking story about you and MJF. Like, get to the meat. But he tells a story of how when MJF was a young guy on the scene, 18 years old, MVP was going to a documentary about one of the guys from Bad Brains or something from Bad Brains. And MJF offered to drive MVP hours away to this. And MVP kind of goes in and he goes, and he did that for the price of just being able to sit in a car with me and pick my brain about pro wrestling. And he goes, and the questions that he was asking me impressed me. And it showed me that this kid was a kid that was going to be reckoned with. He says, and not long after that, there was an indie in South Florida where we met again. And he saw that Friedman had what the kids say, a huge aura to him. He says he's paid off that aura and he's very proud. He goes, but I do have a question. Why are you out here talking to these people? Some would say whining, he says, to these people about what happened on Sunday. And then MJF kind of, you can see on his face, it goes from like a happy, respectful thing to he's like, okay, like, all right, buddy, well, you better watch what you say here. You better like, I'm paying attention now. And MVP kind of goes, he goes, why aren't you angry? Why aren't you smashing things, punching people in the face? Why are you not hurting people? He goes, yeah. And he goes, you know why? He goes, because you've lost your edge. He goes, the boys in the back, they don't respect you anymore. They don't even fear you. And he goes, but you know who they do fear? The Hurt Syndicate. And he goes, and that's what you're missing. He goes, I helped you out a long time ago, and just perhaps I can do it again. He goes, when I first got here and I was handing, and he takes his business card out. And he goes, when I first got here and I was handing these cards out, I was trying to introduce myself. He goes, but now people understand that they understand where me and the Hurt Syndicate go, championships follow. And he goes, this is an opportunity to turn his career around, and maybe it's time that we talked business. So, but MJF at first, Drew, pushes back. He says, he pushes his hand down. He goes, with all due respect, and he goes, and you are one of the few men in this business I do respect. He goes, I'm not the kid I was all those years ago, and I don't need help, and I for damn sure don't need your advice. And he goes, and whether these morons want to hear it or not, I was the world champion for 406 continuous days. And MVP then goes, yeah, I need you to focus on the word was. And he puts the card back up, and MJF takes the card. And then MVP stares him down for a little bit. They give each other a nod. And MVP, you can see he like taps him on the shoulder and he says, think about it. And he taps him on the shoulder with his cane. And that's how this segment ends. So MVP going out there to help a friend. MJF says, no, I'm good. I like where I'm at. And then MVP goes, you sure? Like, really take a look at it and let me know. We can talk. And then MJF looked perplexed as this, kind of like, should I?
I don't know where this is leading to. It's it's a bit, well, I can't say that it's out of character because MVP was giving his business card to people.
That is true.
In the beginning. It just feels a little random at the moment. I don't know, like, we got a comment a minute ago that said that they don't think that the MJF and MVP thing is going to lead anywhere because sometimes Tony drops breadcrumbs and doesn't lead to anything. That is not untrue. There have been instances where that has happened before. But
I don't think he would drop a breadcrumb with somebody like MJF. I think if you're doing something with MJF, it's usually going to lead to something.
Yeah, I mean,
in my opinion,
if it is,
especially
right,
when it's MVP
I feel like
well.
it's what this is going to end up being. I do not know because MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate, that would be,
I mean,
wild. Honestly,
one of these,
something I would have never thought.
Yeah. That would be a little different.
Would it hurt MJF and would it hurt the Hurt Syndicate? I don't think so. I think that would be quite a group with MJF in that group. But
Asian Joe brings up a good point. He says MVP should be smart enough to know that MJF in factions has not ended well.
That is true.
In AEW.
Yes. Literally any faction that MJF has been a part of, MJF made sure to break up.
Yeah. And then we got Fernando saying MJF does not fit with the Hurt Syndicate.
I don't know. I wouldn't say.
I think from an attitude standpoint, he fits with the Hurt Syndicate. Obviously, from a aesthetic situation, one of those people would not fit in. I get that part of it.
I mean, okay,
but
let's put the cards on the table, right?
You just gotta say it.
So the Hurt Syndicate, as was the Hurt Business in WWE when they were there.
Yeah, exactly. Like Joe says it. He'll fit in like Owen Hart in the Nation of Domination.
Yeah, so it's been established. And I mean, no, I guess it has been established.
No, it's been established. Yeah, 100%. That is the big. Yes,
the African American group. Like that's what it's like what Asian Joe just said. It's like the new Nation of Domination.
But like from just not like a rich, powerful.
Yeah, they all wear the suits.
Yeah, Lawrence is saying what aesthetic, like height. MJF wouldn't fit in there either.
That's true. That's true. So obviously, we're coming at this not in a negative way because we love the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah,
I'm just saying for anybody that maybe somebody who's watching for the first time,
when there's a lot of people coming out right away that are saying MJF doesn't fit in with the Hurt Syndicate. And again, this is not a judgment of you as people, but to me, that is you just saying, oh, well, he's white, so he doesn't fit in with the Hurt Syndicate. But it's like, well, if you look at the MJF character, he kind of does. He's rich. He flaunts his money. He flaunts his power. He's an asshole. He does whatever it takes to beat people up. And he fits in with MVP and how they think. You know what I mean? But obviously, from a look standpoint, he would look different than the others. Clearly.
Yeah.
So, Well, he wasn't a
And
loner,
actually,
Fernando. He wasn't a loner that one time until it backfired on him. But anyway.
Well, right.
Lawrence, one would say that second part of that sentence would mean that that's
would
a
mean
bad
something
way.
else.
Yes, that's a bad way to put that.
But so I do also agree with Anthony. Realistically, the person that fits the best aesthetically wise,
the
Hurt Syndicate,
100%.
100%. And
agree.
I mean, I remember like last year, maybe mid to late last year, he had sent a tweet before he had returned about going to get a suit when the Hurt Syndicate started. And I was like, oh, wow. Now, again, I'm not saying that I was like, oh, wow, just because he's African American and this isn't an African American group. That's not what I mean. I'm saying that I feel like I honestly, because of the way that it's been presented, MJF would feel like an odd man out. But
and if
I
you
agree with you. He and MJF and MVP really do have very, very similar career paths. Very similar. So, in the way that they look, in the way that they dress, the way that they act. So, it would not be out of place for MVP and MJF to join.
Yeah. I also think that there's a way that they can talk business and MJF doesn't necessarily have to join the Hurt Syndicate. You could have a friendly, hey, listen, if you guys have I'm not going to join your group here, but like, I respect you. Like, if you guys have my back, I'll have yours kind of business arrangement. It doesn't necessarily have to be MJF being the newest member of the Hurt Syndicate. It could just be, hey, we're friendly, we're friends. I need your boys to have my back if I need them, and then I'll take care of you financially, whatever way you want to do it. You know, MJF, how many times in AEW history has MJF paid off people that he was not in a group with? He's done that a multitude of times.
Oh, yeah, his whole career, pretty much.
You know what I mean? So I think there's a way for them to lean into this. We're going to get there, Ben. We're going to get there, Ben, because that was one of the highlights of last night's AEW Dynamite. We are going to get there. So I look at it that way. I look at it that way as like, hey, I know everybody, including us, are going to jump to the conclusion of like, oh my God, MJF potentially joining the Hurt Syndicate, because that's fun to talk about. And it's like, oh shit, that was kind of out of the blue. None of us were really thinking that this promo would even happen. But I do think there's a way, as we've seen with MJF and his history in AEW, I do think there's a way where they can become maybe business acquaintances and help each other out, if that makes sense, without MJF becoming an actual member of the Hurt Syndicate. I do want to call out Asian Joe's comment, because I do think it would be cool if the Hurt Syndicate did get a female, and Queen Aminata would be the one. She would be the one for me. Queen Aminata in the Hurt Syndicate as kind of like a heel version of her. That would be fucking unreal.
You know who else would be?
And you want to elevate more women like you did Megan Bayne. You put Queen Aminata.
Well,
or even somebody like,
okay, yeah,
you know,
if you're talking that way, Queen Aminata definitely. Honestly, I feel like Athena would be really good in that. So the reason why I laughed a moment ago was because of that little typo in Anthony's comment. I was like, so we're talking about a group of car rental salesmen.
Yeah, we're renting cars. We're renting cars. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to compare companies like that. I don't like to. I understand what you're doing. Like, I can see that. I just don't like to compare companies, because the way that WWE does things is just unlike the way that anybody else does things. So like, I don't like to compare, but yeah, you can put MJF is in that phase of his career where he's the young gun that's clearly been super successful. And so like, you can compare that to like the young Triple H and stuff. But I think, again, I just, Triple H in that time, he was being pushed for reasons. Not saying he didn't deserve it. He was a great wrestler, but Triple H was being pushed for other reasons. let's just say. Whereas MJF, to me, has kind of fully earned his stripes, if that makes sense. Did everything just die behind you, Drew? You just got so dark.
Oh, did I get dark?
You got like there was a whole light that just left.
There we go.
Right? Oh, is it your computer screen? Is that
so
what it was?
It
doesn't either way. I can see
eyes
you
are
still.
Kind of bothering me.
Yeah,
and I just wanted to get off of the screen for a moment because the light is so bright. No, I actually switched over to Twitter for a moment because I have it on dark mode and I don't. This is always light.
Fernando,
just shining in my face.
Fernando, if you think that MJF, the character, exhibits good traits of a leader, I worry about you. The MJF may be like a leader in attitude.
Well,
he is not a leader of men. He is not a leader of men. He does not act like a leader. He's a little bitch.
I mean, he's been a leader of men before.
And how's that worked? How's that work for him?
Well, like all of the other groups that he joins. But
yes, because he's not a good leader. He does not have the traits. He's selfish. He only thinks about himself and not the other people. If you are a leader of people, everybody else comes before you.
Okay, here's a genuine question that I want your opinion on. Is Chris Jericho a leader?
No, because Chris Jericho is doing everything he's doing for himself. Chris Jericho has the gravitas of a career that he's going to, Big Bill or Brian Keith are not going to lead that group over Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho is not a good leader. He wasn't a good leader in the Inner Circle. He wasn't a good leader in whatever that fucking second group that he was in that they called it, whatever that was. And he's not a good leader in this because he's selfish and he only cares about himself. And if he's not getting over, nobody's not getting over. So when you say he's a leader,
if you're presented,
it's wrestling, so it's not like it's but like that. That's what it is. Those are the MJF does not exhibit the quality traits of a leader. A leader doesn't go out in the middle of the ring last night bitching that he lost a match on Sunday. A leader just sucks it up and goes out and fixes it.
MJF the character is not a leader, 100%. But he has been a leader, and when he was a leader. Because he was the leader of that group with FTR and Sean Spears. And
he was a leader of that group, but that group, him as the character was not acting like a leader in that group. Putting down everybody else in the group, acting like he was better than everybody in the group. The group did things that only serviced MJF, not anybody else in the group. We're going to talk about Christian too in a minute, but
no, because the thing is that he is not a good leader, 100%. Correct. I totally agree with that. But I don't think that you need to be a great leader in order to lead people. You just need let's not get into that.
That's why I didn't say anything. I just put it there because if most people should know what that means, and that was hilariously correct. Anyway, continue.
Well, and he also did do a gimmick very similar to that in 2020. But never mind. Let's just move on.
Yeah. So that happened. I'm very intrigued about this. At the end of the day, if I had to pick, I don't think that they'll end up. We'll talk about it when we get there, Anthony. I dictate the show, not you, buddy. So I will talk about it when we get there. But MJF and MVP, I'm very intrigued. I don't think they're going to end up working together. I don't. Maybe I could see MVP in the Hurt business, maybe like taking out. I could see them like beating up Hangman Page for MJF. Or doing something like that, something shady, like not so much working together, but something shady like that. So I could see something like that. But I don't think they're going to end up working together. All right. So I do want to talk about the Mox promo and get into the Death Rider stuff. So, Anthony, it's coming. But I do need to talk about something before that, because we also they announced over the weekend or early this week that they're doing a mini tournament to crown the number one contender for Kenny Omega's newly won AEW International Championship. Kenny Omega started the show. He comes out, he cuts a promo, he talks about his journey from just kind of being glad that he could stand in the ring again and happy that he could wrestle again. He goes, but he never thought he'd be back and be champion. It feels great. The crowd is, saying you deserve it, all this stuff. He goes, but I got someone to thank, and it might be a little controversial, but that's Konosuke Takeshita. He says Takeshita pushed him harder at Revolution than he had ever even pushed himself. And he goes, and if it wasn't for that push, he wouldn't be here as champion. And he goes, Takeshita made that title truly international. So when fearless leader Tony Khan came up with the idea of the Dynasty Eliminator Tournament, he was all for it. Because he wants whoever holds that title to call themselves legitimately the best on the planet. And Omega says, so I'm going to pay attention to who wins because I want to fight the best. And then he does his little goodnight bang, which we haven't heard in a while. And as he's leaving, the Ops make their way to the ring. And Shibata, who is in that tournament, they had a nice little stare down, kind of teasing the potential match of a Shibata-Kenny Omega match. I thought that was really good. Shibata is in the tournament. He's fighting on Saturday. But basically, there's a first round, and all the winners are going to have a fatal four-way match next week on Dynamite. And then the winner will face Kenny Omega at Dynasty for the AEW International Championship. Now, the reason I wanted to start there was because we had two matches in this tournament on this Dynamite last night. And if you saw the graphic, Beast Mortos, who I know is a favorite of yours, he drew a wild card opponent. And that wild card opponent turned out to be none other than our pal here at Love Wrestling, one of the greatest humans in the professional wrestling world. I've had the privilege of meeting this fella more than a few times. He is a sweetheart of a man, cares about everybody. Great, great dude. I was so happy for him. We saw the official AEW debut of Speedball Mike Bailey. He looked good. They presented him really well. Him and Beast Mortos had a very good match.
Yeah.
As you would expect.
Very
good match. And Speedball won with a spin. That spinning crescent kick that he did to win this match, it looked like he damn well, he made it look like he actually kicked Beast Mortos just right in the head. Just right in the head.
I can't move my head too fast before I get dizzy. So I don't know how some people have the will and the agility to be able to spin like that. And I mean, because this is why I could never be a wrestler, right? I'm not athletic in the least bit, which is something that you really do need to be in a wrestler. I don't have great cardio. I don't have.
Well, I mean, if you were a wrestler, you would work on that.
I mean, I would obviously be training for that.
You'd be going to the gym and training every day.
I sometimes turn my head too quickly and the room spins for a moment. So to be able to spin in the way that Speedball spins is incredible. Yeah. It's absolutely incredible. And
he didn't even
it is a powerful spin.
Yeah. And he didn't even show
some dainty little spin kick. He's getting more and more power as you can see it. You can see it. And it makes him getting a win over Beast Mortos just incredible. The power he lifted Beast Mortos into a power bomb. He lifted him up. It wasn't even like part of it was he was on the turnbuckle, but he had the Beast Mortos on his shoulders for a good 2-3 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is something that I cannot do.
Yeah. And like Speedball didn't even show, like he showed a lot of his good, cool moveset, because his moveset is very dynamic and cool. Like nobody does the stuff that he does. Like when he did that standing moonsault knee drop. So he does a moonsault, but instead of like splashing the person like you would expect, he rotates all the way around so he lands a double knee.
Yeah.
He usually does that off the top rope. Like he does that off the top rope usually. And it's like he didn't even show his full arsenal of moves, and they had that good of a match. Really good. Really, really good. Speedball gets the victory. I do agree with Fernando. Like, obviously, Speedball was going to win that match. It's his debut, and he should win that match. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. But Beast Mortos loses all the time.
Yeah,
and Beast Mortos is so good that I would like, obviously, he's going to lose in this scenario. He should lose in this scenario. But I would like to see him win matches, because he was in the Continental Classic and he didn't win one damn thing. Now he loses in the first, you know what I mean? He's too, like Fernando says, he's too good to be a kind of a jobber, which is what he is. You know what I mean? Like he has competitive matches, so he's not like a jobber. It's not like he's getting squashed. But at the same time, he doesn't win when he wrestles. He just doesn't win.
I don't think he's won a single match.
It's been a while at least.
Or maybe he's won one match.
Yeah. So hopefully that changes in the future. But
he's really beautiful, and he deserves to win.
Well, that's not why.
And it was his birthday yesterday. Happy birthday!
Was it really? He lost on his birthday. I care more about that. They made him lose on his birthday. I don't judge my wrestling based on looks. I'm not a objectifier like my co-host over here. But you know, hey, listen, if I talked that way about girls, I'd be kicked off the air. If
you appreciate beauty and you're not disgusting about it,
I agree. But
you're okay in my book.
If I said those things,
so if you wanted to say that Megan Bayne was a beautiful woman, which is true,
no,
I would be okay with that.
You would, but the trolls that stay in the bushes wouldn't. They'd come out of the woodworks with their keyboards and be like, ah! But anyway, I disagree. Let's continue. I digress, not disagree. I agree with your statement there. All right. In ring wise, the Speedball thing was really although I will say, we don't have to talk about this match too much. However, there was a spot in this match that I have to put over. We had a tag team match on this show, and it wasn't your particular tag team match. It was Brian Cage teaming up with Dralistico against Powerhouse Hobbs and Hologram. So it was, each team had a big meaty man, and each team had a high flyer. So it was kind of like a cool dynamic on the teams. The match itself was pretty good. Hobbs and Hologram won, like you would expect of that. However, I have to say, there was a spot in this match where Brian Cage gets thrown to the outside, and Hologram goes and does a suicide dive, and Brian Cage caught him and transitioned it into a suplex on the outside, all in one motion. Like just caught incredible. Him. And he's done it before. I've seen him do it. Fucking incredible. Just an absolutely incredible move by Brian Cage. And I see things like that, and I'm just like, how is this guy not more like, nobody else does shit like that. Nobody else does moves like that.
No.
And then he picked up Hologram, and he was fucking like lifting him up like it was a weight. And then he flipped him through the middle rope back into I'm just like, nobody does things like that. Why is he not? You know,
Anthony, I don't know what you're talking about. That was Harley Graham.
Yeah, that was Harley Graham. That wasn't Harley Cameron, Anthony. I think you're talking about a different person there.
Yeah, totally different person.
Yeah, completely. Just like we saw in WWE. That wasn't Chad Gable on Monday, I guess.
No.
It was a completely different person. It was not Chad Gable.
El Gabel.
And I agree with Scott. At the end of the day, Harley Cameron, I feel like, has not been on TV enough since she had that match with Mercedes. She has not been on TV enough. Pluggo, love you, buddy, and I fully agree. I'm sure we'll be talking more about Megan Bayne tonight on Between Two Beards, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time, right on this very channel, flagship. Episode 199, our 200th episode next week, y'all.
Yeah.
200. Who would have thought? All right. where do we want to go?
We're probably at almost 200 episodes of this show too, but we won't know because we never count them.
Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think we're there yet. Me and Pluggo have been doing it.
We've been doing the show for over 2 years.
Yeah, but me and Pluggo have been doing it for 4. 52 weeks in a year, Drew. So 200. So we're probably halfway.
Well,
we're probably close.
like
we're probably like close to 100. Yeah, we're probably over. We're probably in between like 100 and 125 or so. You figure, because 2.5 years would be 100. Would be 128 weeks. I'm good at
and
math.
I think we started in like September or so. So September would be 3 years.
Yeah. Calendar wise, and obviously we had weeks and little breaks here or there where we haven't done shows and things like that too. Yeah, I'm not liking what Harley is doing either, Bonkers. I don't think they've capitalized on post Mercedes. She hasn't been on TV enough, in my opinion. But either way.
Hologram is fun.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that, Anthony, because I do feel like we might be leaning into a little bit of a change for Takeshita. So I do want to talk about that. But first, I do want to talk about the Mox and Christian promos. So let's talk about Christian first. So Renee Paquette is backstage. She's with the patriarchy. And I loved Christian right at the beginning. Renee's starting to lean in about what happened and why he made the decision to cash in on Sunday the way that he did. And Christian, without even making eye contact at Renee, just goes, "You are related to Jon Moxley? And I don't think that is fair. So I will not be answering any questions from anyone related to Jon Moxley." And Renee's kind of rolling her eyes. And she starts to like...
This was genuinely funny, though.
She starts to talk again. And Christian's like, "Maybe you didn't understand me, but get the hell out of here. I'm not talking to you." So he goes, "Maybe you're blonde and you're dumb. I don't know, but get away from me." And then Renee just leaves. So then Christian's looking at the camera and he says that he goes, "I mean it when I say this, that I am still the next AEW World Champion, and I demand that my contract is given back to me due to referee incompetence, because when I handed it over to the referee, I specifically stated that this was for a one-on-one match against Adam Copeland. I did not expect to be put in an illegal..." He goes, I did not expect it to be a 3-way, let alone I did not expect to be put into an illegal chokehold by Jon Moxley. He goes, "I didn't pass out. I didn't tap out." He goes, "I was regulating my breathing." So I was regulating my breathing, he says. And this whole time, Nick Wayne is standing next to him.
Now and Nick Wayne, very interesting talk now.
Nick Wayne is kind of like rolling his eyes and he's smirking and he's kind of like, all right, whatever. And when he says that he was regulating his breathing, Nick Wayne kind of snaps a little bit. And he goes, "All you're doing is making excuses." And Christian looks at him and goes, "What?" And he goes, "You're making excuses. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to us." He goes, "If you had just stuck with the plan, do you remember the original plan? If you just stuck to the plan, you'd be AEW World Champion now." And he goes, "And you owe us an explanation." And he goes, "And I think you owe us an apology." So Christian goes, "Okay." He goes, "I'm sorry that it's come to this." And he shoves Nick Wayne like against the wall. And then Mother Wayne steps in and goes, "Hey." And she steps in front of Christian. And Christian goes, "What?" He goes, "Say it. Say it." He goes, "You'll be back working midnight shifts at Waffle House. Say it." And Mother Wayne knows her role and goes, "Yeah."
Now I need, very pivotally, need Malcolm to ask Mother Wayne what her Waffle House order is.
100%. 100%. So Mother Wayne gets out of the way. She goes, "Yep, heard." Gets out of the way. And then Christian gets right in Nick Wayne's face. And they are right. They are close. And he backs him against the wall. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And he goes, "Let me ask you a question." He goes, "How many world titles have you won?" He goes, "Matter of fact, how many titles did your loser daddy win? And then it was like, oh boy. And he goes, you're lucky I found you. He goes, you're lucky I saved you from being a coward like your father. He goes, if you, he goes, you're lucky. He goes, you're lucky I saved you from being a coward like your father. And he goes, what the fuck? My notes are awful. Sorry. He goes, if he thinks he's a coward and he says he's going to be champion. Oh, wait a minute. All right, this is Christian talking. My bad. He goes, I'm going to be champion if it's the last thing I do. So shut your mouth and ride my coattails, because the next conversation like this will be the last one. And then the segment kind of ends with Mother Wayne kind of consoling her son as Christian kind of storms off, and Kip Sabian is kind of just standing there, like not really taking a side, one or the other. So it seems like
he did kind of take a side. He did walk away.
He did walk away, but when Christian was talking, obviously Nick Wayne was the focus because he was being so animated with his reactions. But if you look at Kip Sabian, when Christian was talking too, he wasn't really being as animated as Nick Wayne.
Okay.
But he was still kind of looking at Christian being like, you're full of shit. Like, you could tell by his eyes, he was like, this guy's full of shit. This guy's full of shit. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens there, but it feels like Nick Wayne there's dissension in the patriarchy, Drew. We'll leave it at that. There's dissension in the patriarchy. Are we potentially witnessing the end
on Sunday? I did talk about how
this was on Thursday, not Sunday, because we got into because you right? You didn't say that you thought Nick Wayne would prevent? Yeah.
Now, I mean, what ended up happening at Revolution was a choice, but would I have rather seen Nick Wayne cost Christian than Christian just pass out to Jon Moxley and Jon Moxley retain? Yeah. But then we wouldn't get this amazing street fight next week. That's sarcasm.
Listen, I think the street fight's going to be more than fine next week. Just like I thought, we talked about it on Sunday. I thought that main event match itself was fine. It's just once you put that match in the main event after what we had saw prior, you're going to get what you got. You're going to get what you got. If that match was first, if that match was in the middle, it would not have gotten the reception that it got at the main event, because it was the wrong decision to put that match in the main event.
I don't know if I'm not going to go as far as saying that it wouldn't have gotten the same reception, but because you didn't think so, but I kind of thought the match itself was boring.
Which is fine. Again, I didn't think it was great. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a more than serviceable match for those two guys. And with the storyline at the end, I thought it was fine. The finish, I would agree with Fernando. The finish was kind of garbage. If you're going to have Christian cash in, just have Christian win the fucking thing. But
now what I worry about is that maybe somehow Christian gets that contract back by some various ways.
He did. Well, he just flat out asked for it back in this promo. So that could be something they lean into, though. It could be. He did reference it. So maybe that is something that he really tries to do, and saying, hey, no, it's not what I signed up for. It's not what I signed up for. But
I mean, obviously he's angling to get another title match, which I feel he does deserve.
I agree. Wait, Christian?
Yes.
I feel like Copeland's getting it, but I feel like
is getting it, yeah. But I think Christian also does deserve a title match, because the contract. I mean, because if you think legitimately, yes, the contract is for a one-on-one match for the championship. However, signing it during a one-on-one match for the championship does not then automatically make your match a one-on-one match for the championship.
Correct.
But that's that, classic heel thing that that he said last night. It was like, oh, well, this was supposed to be a one-on-one match. I signed the contract. Well, no. You wait until Copeland or Moxley win the match, and then you hit them with the contract and sign it and pin them, and that's how you win.
Correct. Can I just say on record, I hope that this stipulation, this contract, this thing that they have here goes away forever. Please just let this be the last one. Have it go away forever. This is we're copying WWE for me. I can't. This is Money in the Bank. It's literally what it is. And I just get away from it. For me, does it add intrigue? Yes. Is it exciting? You don't need a Money in the Bank to match WWE. That's what this is. It's lame.
I mean, it's obviously it is a similar concept.
They win a ladder match. They have a contract that they can cash in at any time, even during a match. He did what Seth Rollins did at WrestleMania 31. The only difference is they make them sign the contract in person before they do it, instead of just handing it's the same shit. Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
I like Money in the Bank.
Oh, so don't I, but that's theirs. Keep it over there. You don't have to do something like that. You're different. Do something different. The brass ring thing with that stupid thing, it would look like you would sit on if your asshole had surgery. Remember when they did that? Remember when they did that? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
But that was also because of a direct comment that Vince McMahon made.
I agree. But do something it's just, to me,
grab the brass ring, pal.
Yes. But to me, this contract is one of the most unoriginal things.
A poker chip during the casino.
I like the poker chip.
That I like.
Yes, keep with that.
That was nice.
You literally are just doing the Money in the Bank. This is Money in the Bank. You do your own shit. Do your own shit. Anyway. Yes. I just hope they just get rid of it. Because, Christian has had that for how long? Yeah, exactly. It's just I don't know. The Casino Battle Royal. Well, not really though, because they changed the way that people come out, and it's a little different. I like the Casino Gauntlets. I like the Casino Battle Royals. I like all that stuff. But to me, this with the contract.
The Casino Battle Royal is a unique.
Yes, exactly. The way they do it. Yes.
The way that they do it. That is not a ripoff of the Royal Rumble, because that match can end at any time.
Well, that's the Gauntlet. That's not the Battle Royal. That's the Gauntlet one.
Oh, the Gauntlet. I'm sorry. Yeah.
The Battle Royal, which they've kind of switched over to the Gauntlet, and they don't really do the Casino Battle Royal that often anymore. They've kind of switched to I love the Casino Gauntlet. I think
the Casino Gauntlet.
I think that is a very unique and great match that they've kind of created for themselves.
That's fun. I enjoy those because it can end at any time.
Yeah.
There is no 30 guys are definitely going to come out and then somebody wins. It can end. It could end with the first two guys.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it does once, just to prove the point of well, you know what? This is how it works.
Yeah. Johnny says, I just need 2 weeks of in-ring promos of Swerve and Mox and a barn burner at Dynasty. Don't care how they get there. So we'll talk about this now, because this was all kind of right in a row. First and foremost, so we see Swerve in the backstage. He's cutting a promo. He's asked, he says, hey, you won the number one contendership by beating Ricochet. Do you know when you want to kind of challenge for the world title? And he says, I do. He goes, exactly almost a year ago, I became the first black AEW world champion at Dynasty. And he goes, and this year on April 6th in Dynasty, I'm going to do it again. So he calls his shot. He says that he wants the world champion at Dynasty. And then we see Adam Copeland roll up. Now, this was taped right after the main event at the pay-per-view, because Copeland rolls up in wrestling gear. He's kind of, selling the effects. He rolls up and he says, Swerve asks him how he's doing. And he goes, I'm hurt. I'm beat up. He goes, my neck hurts a lot. He goes, I'm hurting a lot. He goes, but I didn't really lose. And he goes, and I might well be champion come Dynasty. He goes, or maybe I'll be the guy that eventually takes it off you. And they kind of stare at each other, a little foreshadowing potentially. And there goes that, because someone said something earlier when we were talking about Christian and things, and they said this is the start of, they said Adam Copeland and Christian eventually getting back together. And I think we are going to see that eventually.
As baby faces or heels?
No, I think Copeland will go heel. You got really blurry. You just got really blurry. Oh. It's probably just a focus thing, but yeah, there we go. There we go, Drew. You look pretty now. You are not blurry from 1980 anymore. So that happened. And then right after this, we get this Jon Moxley promo. And let me tell you, Jon Moxley, not that Adam Copeland needs it at all, but Jon Moxley put Adam Copeland so over in this promo that I feel like this promo from Jon Moxley gave Adam Copeland more credibility in AEW than anything else that AEW has done themselves, to me. Moxley talks about Copeland. He goes, "Oh, you're angry at me that I left with my championship." He goes, "Didn't at one point you used to call yourself the world's greatest opportunist?" And he goes, he says, "I should have put you on ice before Christian Cage had even put his boots on to get involved in that. I should have already had you on ice." So the way Moxley says shit like that right there, that is like, he just says things differently and cooler than other people. So he says that, and he goes, "I underestimated Copeland." He goes, "I heard him. He didn't care." He goes, "I don't know what he's made of, but whatever he's made of, it is rare. It is rare." And he goes, "And I can admire that." He goes, "But you want to complain about the rules?" He goes, "So take the rules. Take the disqualifications, take the countouts, take whatever you want, call it a street fight, call it whatever looks cool on a poster." He goes, "You take the rules and I'll take your excuses." He says, "My dad always told him, measure twice, cut once." Another great line. Another great line from Moxley. He goes, "My dad told me measure twice, cut once." And he goes, "I underestimated Adam Copeland's grit, his will to climb the ladder no matter what avalanche befalls him." He goes, there are many differences between amateurs and professionals. And one of them is that I don't make mistakes twice." And he just leaves. Great delivery.
Phenomenal promo.
Incredible. An incredible promo from Moxley. Like, serious, not talking loudly, not screaming, just deadpan, serious, like, he reminds me of like how Jake the Snake used to cut his promos, or Piper. Like when Piper wasn't the yelly animated Piper, but when he would just sit there and kind of just talk like this, and he would never get higher than this, but he would be speaking sternly and speaking right at his opponent. That's how Moxley talks when he cuts promos like that. He does the promos where he yells and things like that too. But this type of Moxley promo where he's very controlled, just talking regular, not raising his voice, but he's saying things that are so cold and calculated. It's like he's going to fucking kill somebody.
Yeah, this is where he looks his most intimidating.
Yes. A+ promo. And he put Adam Copeland Edge does not need anybody to put him over. He's fucking Edge. All right? He doesn't need anybody to put him over. But Jon Moxley put him over more than this whole company has since he's gotten there, and this one promo. At least giving him more credibility. Because with Moxley saying shit like that, I believe Jon Moxley when he says stuff like that. So when he's saying whatever Adam Copeland is made of is rare. Like that is so much credibility to me coming from Moxley. This was a great promo from Jon. Yeah. This was a great promo.
I agree.
And it actually made me excited, even though I thought the main event at Revolution was a dud. It actually made me kind of excited for the rematch next week, to be honest with you. Hopefully it's a little bit more exciting than what we saw on Sunday, but that promo actually got me like, okay, like I'm ready to see a street fight. Like, are these guys actually going to like fucking do it, man? Like, are they going to like be violent, like big, super violent, and let's go. Like no more, no bullshit. But I love this promo, Drew. I loved it. God, what else was there on Dynamite? See, we jump around, then I'm like, all right, I got to remember what the hell. Oh, so we did have, we did
a lot of jumping around today.
I know. So we did. MJF obviously had that promo with MVP in the ring, but Fernando, yes, we could probably talk about that as well, which we will. But later on in the evening, Renee is in the back, and she's with Hangman Adam Page. And as she's walking with Hangman,
I did not see this.
You didn't see that?
What you're about
you
to
just
talk
missed
about.
it? You just missed it.
I
go to the bathroom
got home and I was in like fast forward to commercials mode. So I actually did not. So the ironic thing is that I found out about this because of the dumbass tweet that's been going out today.
Yeah, see, I don't know what that. I don't pay attention to what dumb people put in the internet.
You're better off.
Yeah.
And people in the comments might know whom I'm referring to. So that's how I found out that this segment happened. So go ahead. Let me hear what happened.
Yeah. So Renee is interviewing Hangman, but MJF kind of shows up and kind of like bumps shoulders with them, and Renee immediately is like, "Nope, not dealing with this," and she gets the hell out of there. Hangman says, he goes, "MJF, last week you tried to light me on fire." He goes, "But here's the thing, I don't believe you." He goes, "To do something like that, you have to really believe in it." And he goes, "And another thing I don't believe is that you let the mask slip and that you care about what the people think about you." Max then takes a step back a little bit. And Max then takes he goes, "I'm going to take a step back because you smell like rotten ass." That's what he says to Hangman. He goes, "Because you smell like rotten ass." And he goes, "And you're high on your horse. You had a fluke victory." He goes, "But now I'm going to go on." He goes, "You know what I'm going to do?" He goes, "I'm going to go on to win the AEW world title again. And I'm going to go on to be a Hall of Famer." And he goes, "While you scratch and claw and you come tumbling down right before your pinnacle." Remember the Pinnacle? That was the group with FTR and he mentioned he references that word. He says, "Before you reach your pinnacle." He goes, "I noticed when the Hangman's mask slips off, that his greatest insecurity is that he thinks he doesn't deserve the fans' love." And he goes, "You're right." He goes, "You'll never make them proud." He goes, "But Max will win the title over and over and over again, and I'll be laughing at you the whole way." And then Hangman just kind of leans in and he just goes, "We'll see." And they just kind of stare at each other. And that's how this ended. So it seemed to me that this was like, I think commentary said it afterwards. I think it was Excalibur. He was like, that feels like these two are going to be intertwined with each other for a long time. And I felt like that's kind of what's happening here is we might not necessarily, I think we will, but we might not necessarily
even said so in his promo before MVP came out.
Yeah, he said we're not over by a long shot. That's what he said. That tells me, and then what happened afterwards with this, that tells me that maybe they're not fighting each other again right away. Maybe. But it feels like it's one of the, I wouldn't be shocked if the next time these two guys fight, one of them, MJF most likely, or they're going to be fighting when one of these guys is world champion. Easily. This is going to be one of those feuds that they just kind of always find each other. Hangman has built a couple feuds like that. Obviously with Swerve, it feels like that could go that way as well. But it feels like MJF is another one of those, where it's one of those things where throughout their career, throughout the next 5 or 10 years, no matter what level of the card they're on, whether one of them's the champ, whether they're wherever, that they're always going to kind of run into each other every so often. And that's going to kind of be the thing. I personally think we'll get another match of theirs at Dynasty because I don't really know where either of them go besides fighting each other again at Dynasty because they're not going to be involved in the world title picture. So I'm kind of like, where do they go besides kind of fighting again? Because and MJF even mentioned it in this. He said, "We're 1-1, man. I beat you once, you beat me once. We're 1-1. So we have unfinished business here too." So
Yeah. A final match at Dynasty might be the right thing for them.
Yeah, and then they break away for a little bit. Oh, I'm gonna get the hiccups. Then they break away for a little bit, and then they'll just kind of always find each other. So that happened. That was a good little thing that happened out back. Yeah, before, I mean, what was crazy to me though is I know there were stakes on the main event, but I felt like the main event was.
I absolutely did not give a shit about the main event.
No. I was very much like, why would, yeah.
And that was, I really kind of just checked out. I was like, all right,
It was very
the
bizarre.
second AEW show in a row where I kind of checked out on the main event.
It was very bizarre. It was very bizarre. I was just kind of like, why would of all? I mean,
it was a good match.
Oh yeah,
but Hechicero is phenomenal, and Kate
sure
reminded me by tweeting at me last night my face when I watched Hechicero and Zack Sabre Jr. wrestle earlier this year.
Yeah, I was there for
that. That was fucking incredible. Absolutely incredible. But I did not give a shit about this at all.
No. But the main event of Dynamite last night was Hechicero versus Orange Cassidy, and it was a first-round match in the number one contenders Dynasty Eliminator tournament. And again, it was a good match. It was back and forth, but I just felt like it wasn't a Dynamite main event match to me. Like this match could have opened the show, and it would have made sense, kind of thing. But Orange Cassidy wins, and he wins with the mousetrap roll-up to win. So Speedball Mike Bailey and Orange Cassidy are the first two that have qualified for the four-way next week. And then this Saturday, Ricochet is in a match, and Shibata. Are they fighting each other?
Yeah,
they're not fighting each other. But
no, they are.
They are. Okay, so who's the? Oh, then it's Mark. Then it's Mark Davis versus Mark Briscoe, right? That's the other one. So on Collision on Saturday, the two other matches to get to the other two of the four-way, it's Ricochet versus Shibata, and then it's Mark Davis versus Mark Briscoe. So the winner of those two matches will join Speedball Mike Bailey and Orange Cassidy in the Fatal Four-Way next week on Dynamite to crown the number one contender for
it's going to be
Kenny Omega.
Ricochet. And
maybe
it's going to be
you think Mark Briscoe, right?
I think Mark Davis.
I would like it to be Mark Davis. But I don't know. I never count Mark Briscoe out because they like to do everything they can with Mark Briscoe for obvious reasons. Mark Briscoe's great. But I think it would make more sense if it was Mark Davis because of the whole Don Callis side of things.
Right. Because everyone in the Don Callis family has to lose.
To Kenny Omega.
Or just in general.
Yeah. Are you now? I agree with you. I think it probably will be Ricochet, but they did tease the look with Shibata and Kenny at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, but it won't be Shibata and Kenny at Dynasty.
No. But I don't know. Yeah, the way that they teased that, maybe it was like, do they have Shibata pull off an upset? Not would it really be an upset? I don't know. Pull off a victory over Ricochet, and Ricochet continues to kind of go crazy because he loses that.
No, I don't think it would be. I think the right thing would be for Ricochet to win. I think it should be Kenny and Ricochet.
That's where I'm kind of leaning. But Speedball just got there. Kenny and Speedball would be best for business as well.
Oh shit, Kenny and Ricochet and Speedball.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They're doing a fatal four-way though. So that's the thing. Right?
I mean, they'll have their own moment in the match.
Yes. I would love to see Ricochet.
I'm already excited for that.
Like I almost kind of wish this was a regular tournament because I would love a finals with Ricochet versus Speedball with the winner going to face Kenny. Like that is, and again, Orange Cassidy is going to be the most popular guy in this fatal four-way. I wouldn't be shocked if it's him and Kenny, because we've really never seen that in AEW. And those are two big.
No, we haven't seen Ricochet and Kenny either.
Yeah, but Ricochet just got there. Orange Cassidy has been there since the beginning. Like we haven't seen that, and Orange Cassidy has been there since the beginning. Ricochet literally just got there.
I think Ricochet gets the upset victory, pinning Orange Cassidy.
Maybe, but you're also Even though I love what Ricochet's doing, you're also blinded when it comes to Ricochet. But I don't know. I think you can go either way. Because let's just say it is Ricochet. Whoever wins between Mark Briscoe and Mark Davis, they're not fucking winning. So whoever the fourth one is. So if it's going to be Speedball, Orange Cassidy, Ricochet, and then man number 4, any one of those other 3 guys can win that match to me. Any one of them. And you can, it would make sense for them to fight Kenny. You know what I mean? Like Speedball just got there. You want to put him in a big match right away. Him versus Kenny Omega, even though he'd probably lose, that's a big time match. Kenny Omega versus Ricochet, that's a big time match. Kenny Omega versus Orange Cassidy, that's a huge, like 2 AEW originals, big time match that we've never seen. Like either one of those 3 guys could theoretically make a move right there. And I think it would work. So we'll kind of have to see how it goes. All right. I think that's almost everything. Ricochet did cut a promo on this on this night. He did talk about he didn't even he barely acknowledged the loss to Swerve. He basically just said that his sights now were on the international championship and getting gold around his waist. And right now it might not be the world championship, but he sees that gold and he sees Kenny Omega and he's very interested in it. So that was kind of his promo. Then really the last thing that happened that we haven't talked about yet, and it's really not a super, the laugh is cringe. Yeah, but it works with his character because he's a nerd. So the laugh kind of works with his character. Works. I mean, the thing that I find the most cringe is that he's just repeatedly wearing terrible hats. But other than that, just terrible hats. Casual fans, if you're an AEW fan, you know who Speedball, you definitely know who Ricochet is. If you don't know who Ricochet is, I don't know what to tell you. Because even casual fans know who Ricochet is. Will Ospreay's promo was awful. Maybe that's why I didn't bring it up. Because I thought that was arguably the worst promo that Ospreay has cut since being in AEW. Dreadful, I would say. But yeah, I don't know. Anthony, I'm of the mindset that if you put somebody in a match with Kenny Omega, that's a big time deal for that. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like, do you understand what I'm trying to say here, Drew?
Yeah,
If
I get it.
Like even if let's just say the casuals don't know a ton about. Right from the jump, I fully believe that if you're an AEW fan, I don't think you're a casual wrestling fan. I don't think a lot of casual. Also the fact of
we talk about all casuals, and Ricochet was in WWE
for a decade.
So for people to go that casual fans don't know who Ricochet is, that's a stretch. That's a big stretch. I could say we could make a case that casuals don't know Mike Bailey, but to say casuals don't know Ricochet,
that's crazy.
That is a stretch.
That's crazy. So it's kind of one of those things where, and again, like I said, if you're going to be in a big time pay-per-view match against Kenny Omega, that should tell you that that should tell you everything you need to. Yeah, but here's the thing though. I don't think there are a lot of fans that don't like if you're a fan of AEW, you're watching AEW all like there's nobody that just tunes into AEW once a month. Like I'm sure there are people that do that, but like I it's not that type of thing to me. So like I just don't think there are. I just think it's a different type of fan that watches AEW than watches the other. I think there's more casuals that watch the other brand, if that makes sense. All right, so we'll talk about Will Ospreay. But before we do that, let's just get this out of the way. Max Caster, Platinum Max Caster.
I think this is a phenomenal role for him.
He's great. And he's doing great. Yeah. He comes out. He does his open challenge. He talks about how well his shirt is selling, and he claims that it means that he was always the top star in the Acclaimed. is because of how great he's doing and how great his merch is selling. And he goes, all right, I'm ready to see who's going to answer my open challenge. And it is a very angry and very pissed off Konosuke Takeshita that answers the challenge. And Max is once again just immediately upset. But this time, though, Max grabs a mic and he goes, come on. He goes, no. He goes, you don't want to fight me. He goes, I'd friggin' kill you. Max Cassidy goes, you don't want to fight. I'll kill you. He goes, so you must be out here to invite me into the Don Callis family. He goes, and that's really interesting because imagine what the Don Callis family could do for Platinum Max Caster. He goes, I could main event the Tokyo Dome. I could get the recording deal, or maybe I could do something that you couldn't do on Sunday, and that's beat Kenny Omega. And once he says that, Takeshita hits him with one of his fabulous elbows. He picks him up. He hits the Revolution Falcon Arrow. 1, 2, 3. Easy victory. Well, he hits him with the elbow first, and then it feels like he knocks him out, and he goes to pin him, and he lifts him up. Yeah. He lifts him up after the 2. And then he kind of slaps him a little bit, wakes him up. He goes, hey, yeah, make sure he's alive and alert. And then he hits him with the Revolution Falcon Arrow for the 1, 2, 3. Oh, Anthony Bowens is coming, Fernando. You got to be patient. So they're doing this.
It will happen.
It will happen. Let's just put it this way. If there is all of a sudden a Max Caster Platinum Max Caster Open Challenge on a pre-show of a pay-per-view or on a card of a pay-per-view, it will be answered by Anthony Bowens. And Anthony Bowens will beat the shit out of that guy. And then Anthony Bowens will get a singles push, and you will see Anthony Bowens move up the card. Because that dude,
he's doing an NFL training camp right now.
He is. He's doing an NFL training camp
for maybe another few weeks.
Yeah, he's doing baseball, isn't he? It's baseball. Is he doing baseball? I know he's a baseball
sort of training camp.
Yeah, well, they're doing spring training right now in baseball. NFL spring training doesn't start until like June or July. They're training camps.
Okay, so maybe it was that.
I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't read anything about it, but I know I've seen a lot of video of Bowens hitting baseballs, and he's like a legit baseball player. Or he was a legit baseball player. And spring training for baseball is happening right now. So I don't know if that's what he's doing. It's baseball related. It could be football, but football training camps don't usually start till like June. But either way, Anthony Bowens will answer Max Caster, and it will happen sooner than later. There was another promo with Jay White where Renee Paquette asked him about the briefcase situation that happened at Revolution with Adam Copeland, where he accidentally hit Adam Copeland with the briefcase. And Jay White goes, are you asking me or are you accusing me? And Renee was kind of like, no. And he's like, no, I get it. He goes, everyone's been asking me, what happened and all this stuff. And he said, well, listen, he goes, it was an accident. I didn't mean to hit Adam Copeland with that. He said, however, if anybody has a gripe to be the number one contender for the AEW World Championship, it's me. I've sacrificed more than anybody to get a title shot, and I've been screwed over and over again. And he kind of talks like that. I do believe that Jay White eventually will turn on Adam Copeland at some point. But yeah, I don't really know where Jay White goes from here, except still kind of being involved. Do we see him get involved again next week in the street fight?
Week, probably. So either he probably turns next week, I would imagine.
You think so? Maybe he turns on Copeland, and that's how they do it. So Moxley gets another victory like that with Jay White being the one that helps. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think that was pretty much it. I think we covered it. Obviously, we jumped around, but I think we covered everything that happened on Dynamite last night. Again, I thought there were things that I liked on this show and things that intrigued me on this show, but I thought overall it was one of the weaker Dynamites they've had in a bit. I thought it was one of the weaker shows they've had in a bit. It did not feel like a post-pay-per-view big Dynamite. Oh yeah, so Will Ospreay, they did cut that promo.
Not
the
necessary.
The first half of it where he was talking about the story with his wife. Like, I get it, you're trying to meet. Like, I don't give a shit about your wife, bro. No offense. Don't give a fuck what your wife thinks about your wrestling career. I'm here to watch you wrestle, not hear what your wife thinks. Sorry. I know what he was trying to do. Like, he was trying to be like, I just didn't
trying to be cheeky about it.
Yeah, I just don't
care,
man.
It just came off weird and rambly, and
I literally don't care.
Not necessary.
But the gist of that was, he said that he says everybody's talking about the world title and everybody's talking about going to. It was a promo. There was more talking than wrestling last night. There was more talking than wrestling. He said everybody's trying to go for the world title, and everyone's asking me, when are you going to call your shot for the world title? And he kind of purposefully looked not at the WrestleMania sign, but he looked at the All In sign. And he said, I know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to enter the Owen Hart tournament. I'm going to win the Owen Hart tournament. And then I'm going to call my shot at All In Texas and challenge the world heavyweight champion when I win the Owen Hart tournament. So what we know, because it's Will Ospreay, is we already know that's going to happen. So we already know that Will Ospreay is going to enter the Owen. He's 1,000% going to win the Owen. And he's 1,000% going to be in the main event at All In, fighting for the world title. And if I was a betting man, I'd probably say he's going to win the world title at All In. That would probably... I'm okay with that too, 100%. He's definitely one of those few guys that should. But yeah, so that was kind of the gist of his
waiting until next year's All In London.
I agree. So I would assume that that's the way they're going to go. And I think we'll get Okada and Omega to unify the Continental and International Championships at All In. And then we will get Will Ospreay against Swerve? Maybe against Moxley still. Does Moxley make it all the way to July with the title? Does Swerve take it off him and we get a rematch of Ospreay and Swerve, which was excellent last year?
Jay White could turn on Copeland.
Yeah, is it Jay
Moxley
White?
Retain.
Yeah.
Prince Nana could turn on Swerve to have Moxley retain.
Yeah. But it feels like
I'm going to turn on this company soon enough if they don't get this fucking title off of Moxley.
Well, listen. I expect Moxley to win next week. If Moxley wins next week, if Swerve doesn't do it at Dynasty, I think we're in for the long haul here, Drew. I don't think this is happening anytime soon. I thought they were going to do it with the whole contract situation with either Copeland or Christian. I thought that was going to happen. It did not. I feel like if we are at the end of AEW Dynasty and Mox retains over Swerve, even if it is due to some bullshit, I feel like he is keeping that belt till All In. Like, I feel like it won't be anytime soon that Moxley loses that if Swerve doesn't beat him.
Heaven help us all.
We'll get there when we get there. And we'll deal with it when we get there. I don't know how many people
are going to get there if it goes past Dynasty.
But that's the vibe I get. That's the vibe I get, for real. That's the vibe I get. I don't know. We'll see. But, all right. That's going to be it for us. That was Dynamite. Like I said, if you guys want...
though? Yes. I will say...
Yeah.
The Owen being all former Moxley opponents...
That'd be fun.
To fight Moxley at All In. I maybe could talk myself into that.
But Ospreay is not one of those. And he's in it.
Okay, that's true. So, never mind.
That was a good idea, though, by you. That would have been fun. Like, if it was like...
Who's going to finally slay the beast?
Like Adam Copeland, Orange Cassidy, Darby... If Darby's back at that point, Darby Allin, Jay White... You could have 4 or 6 or 8 guys that Moxley and the Death Riders have fucked with. You could add
Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, you could add Swerve in there if Swerve loses at Dynasty. Like, you could have had all guys that got screwed by Moxley and the Death Riders in the Owen. So the winner would have to be a rematch, and it would kind of be like, okay. Now, and then you could even, I'm waiting for you know, we joke about it on the other side of things with WWE, with Cody and Roman, and I think we're heading there again with Cena and Cody this year. We joke about the Avengers assembling. I honestly think that this is going to end in that type of match where the Death Riders are down there and then Avengers assemble, and all these guys that the Death Riders have fucked over the last year are going to come out and help the guy, whoever it is, finally beat for the betterment of AEW. You know, like that type of, I think that's where we're going here, right? So, you know.
Which then it would make sense for Moxley to retain until All In.
Correct. And then if Ospreay is the guy and you have an Orange Cassidy, you have a Swerve, you have a Copeland, you have a returning Darby maybe you do have a Danielson make a one-off at the end. You have all these guys come back that the Death Riders have, you know, ruined or killed off screen to help Ospreay be the next guy, get the belt back. I think that's kind of like, oh my God, finally. Then
the briefcase gets opened.
Yeah, and you take the belt out at All In front of 70,000 people. The crowd's fucking happy, you know. Just saying.
But why wait 4 more months?
Exactly. Just do it at Double or Nothing or something. But, you know, it is what it is. But again, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about that, Drew. So, but we're going to get out of here for the day. That was AEW Dynamite. I know we jumped around more than we usually do, but it was just one of those episodes. But Drew, let the people know what you got coming up the rest of the week, where they can find you, and then we will do our thing and get out of here, man.
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at the Drew Nicholas. And yeah, that's all I care about promoting right now. Just go ahead, do your shit.
Fair enough. Tonight, 8 p.m., right here on this channel, me and Pluggo, Between Two Beards, we'll be talking about the Raw from MSG this past Monday. Obviously, Drew and I didn't get to discuss it, but an excellent Monday Night Raw from Madison Square Garden. We'll be diving into that. We'll be talking some AEW Revolution. We got our pal Joey Carney joining us tonight. Should be a fun one, so stay tuned to that. Drew, I know I have my own channel where I play games and stuff. Tonight at midnight, Drew, MLB The Show releases. And if anybody watches my streams or anybody watches my video game side of things, you all know.
Big baseball guy.
That is my game. That is the game that I play the most every year. That is the thing. So tonight is a big day for me. This is basically my Christmas. We are going to be playing that game for the rest of my life until next year. So that's a big one that's coming out tonight. But you can catch me and Drew every Tuesday and Thursday. Firmly love wrestling. We talk WWE on Tuesdays. We talk AEW like we have today on Thursdays. So that's where you can find me. You can find me at JPJ Loves Gaming on all social media platforms. That is going to do it for us today. Appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody tuning in. We always appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Drew and I will see you on Tuesday, and you guys know the drill. Until then, peace out.